Close-Up is brought to you by the Kia Sorento R, redefining the power of Kia.
There's a standoff in Whangarei tonight over gay marriage, and this is quite separate to any standoff in the Parliament tonight when MPs will vote on it for the first time, but it's just as bitter. It's prompted by comments from the principal in the Pompelia Catholic College newsletter, and it's already led to suspensions and threats. Principal Richard Stanton lays out his objections to gay marriage under the heading, Keeping Marriage Sacred. He says, "My religious objection is aligned with church doctrine on marriage." He says New Zealand society and laws have a Christian base, and that should we become non-biased in applying faith-derived values to marriage, one could argue for polygamy. He notes same-sex couples argue for the right to children, a right to children. He says, "My fear is we are moving towards a society whereby an entitlement or right and therefore commodities. I acknowledge that possessive parents are not exclusively found in same-sex relationships, but I contend that such relationships may be more disposed towards such a mindset." Well, those comments weren't well received by all at school. Students who organised a Facebook page were threatened, and a teacher who then took up their cause has been suspended and could lose his job. His name is Nigel Studdart, and along with former pupil Zach Claves, he joins me now. Nigel, when you think about this, I mean, this is a Catholic school.
Yep.
What was it that you did that so offended them?
I don't really understand it, Mark, actually. I mean, this really came up from Friday.
Yeah.
I requested that the principal withdraw his comments as soon as I saw it on Saturday morning. I have no issue with his stance on gay marriage. I fully understand it's a Catholic school. It wouldn't be my opinion, but he's entitled to his. My real problem with it, separate from the students' issue really, is when he contended, to use his words, that somehow gay parents would be lesser parents. I respect each and every student in my class. I have terrific respect for all of them. To say that gay parents could in some way be lesser parents means that if I have a gay student in my class, then they become somebody who would be a lesser parent than you or I. Look, how could that be possible?
We asked the principal to come on tonight,
yep.
and he said no, but he did send us a statement. Now, one of the things he addresses in that is he says, "I affirm that our college welcomes and will always welcome parents and children from same-sex families. I find difficulty reconciling that with comments made by very few that the newsletter encourages intolerance and discrimination against gays."
Interesting, yeah. Very few I would take issue with. I think it was 234 or somewhere around there before he took the page down and basically frightened a student into doing it, which I think is awful. So that's that side of the coin. Yes, he says he welcomes every student into the college, but how would you feel as a student if you were welcomed into the college, yet told that your parents, if they were the same sex, were somehow lesser parents in the principal's newsletter? Why would you put this in a school newsletter? Our first duty of care is to our students. That primary duty of care under the registered teacher standards, which we're all drummed in, and I agree with, is that we should make our classrooms safe for our students.
OK, let's bring in, I want to talk to Zach Claves now. He was at Pompelia College. Zach, your sister's still there. You only just left recently. What is the issue? I mean, is it an issue for students at that college? Do the students find this offensive?
Well, Mark, I've spoken to a couple of friends that I still have there. They've been having an issue with that it just seemed to discriminate. I mean, while I was there, we were always told to be tolerant and to be just towards others. And I just find that that newsletter is going to be promoting intolerance towards gays or any non-heterosexual students at that school.
Nigel, one of the things is, and again the principal points this out, it's a Catholic school.
Yep.
He says, nothing I said about marriage in that newsletter is any different from what the bishops, the Catholic bishops, have said in this country.
Totally understand, Mark, but we're not talking about marriage. What we're talking about here is saying gay parents are lesser parents than you or I, and that is fundamentally wrong. And I'm sorry, you know, I fully understand where the students come from. We are there to represent the students, to be an example to the students, How can we stand up for a fundamental untruth?
So this comes back to what we saw at the start, where he says, I acknowledge that possessive parents are not exclusively found in same-sex relationships, but I contend that such relationships may be more disposed towards such a mindset.
Which is very flowery language, and I must admit I read it half a dozen times before I really took the tones that were coming with it. A lot of my students read it once and were obviously brighter than I and picked it up much quicker.
OK, you've got a problem. You're a teacher at the school.
Yep.
You've got 2 kids at the school.
Absolutely.
They're caught in the middle of this, aren't they?
You know, there's one thing I'd say about this school. This school has some of the most passionate, brilliant teachers I've ever met. They are fantastic. The kids there are astounding kids. They're brilliant, lovely kids. There's not a problem with the school. The problem is with, well, I'll leave that to your viewers to come up with.
You've covered off the teachers and the pupils. I presume you're referring to the principal.
I think it would be lovely if he was here tonight.
Yeah, it would
really
be.
would.
You've been suspended. Have you got a future at that college?
Oh, I really hope so. I've been suspended by the principal as far as I know. I'm hoping that the Board of Trustees, and I teach most of their kids and have terrific respect for them, will actually look at this and say, what is going on here? Let's get some rational logic. Let's actually look at the real underlying story here of looking after the kids, keeping them safe and giving them a good education with Christian values. I support that.
Zach, when your experience at the school, did you have any issue with attitudes towards gays or same-sex couples? Is there anything that came through at the school along those lines?
Not significantly. I mean, as per usual with every single high school, there's always going to be a few people that pick on others and just use that as a general insult. But no, I just never really had any real encounters with anti-gay stuff. I mean, but I do know that there are gay students at that school, and one can only imagine how such a derogatory newsletter comment could have affected them, their parents, etc.
Nigel, tomorrow, or tonight, you're going to drive back up the Whangarei.
Absolutely,
you don't have to go to school at the moment you're suspended, but how is this going to end? I come back to this. Do you have a future at that school?
Oh, I really hope so,
How can
Mark.
it be resolved?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, what I've offered to my students, you know, this is just before exams, OK? This is a shockingly bad thing to do. I'm the teacher in charge of chemistry at the school. I have serious responsibilities to those students, in my mind, to help them get the best grades they can. What I've offered to do for the students, and I'd ask your viewers' support in this, is to, after the 3 o'clock finish of school, I will offer to teach those kids for free till 5 o'clock. If somebody downtown in Whangarei can offer us a facility somewhere those students can go, I will do my utmost to make sure this does not affect their examination results. This is their future.
OK, well, listen, thank you for coming in, Nigel. And Zach, thank you down there in Tauranga. And, of course, to the principal at the school, Richard Stanton, offer you the opportunity to come on tomorrow night. Now, was the school right suspending Nigel over the gay marriage row? Go to our website or email us. That's closeup@tvnz.co.nz, or join the debate.
It's now a step closer to being able to walk down the aisle together. The controversial bill seeking to legalise gay marriage has passed its first stage, a conscience vote. Georgina Ball has the latest.
The ayes are 78.
With that vote, the marriage equality bill passed its first hurdle, a victory for those fighting for marriage equality. The Labour MPs sponsoring the bill's ecstatic at the result.
I'm absolutely delighted. It was a fantastic result. I was hoping for 61 votes, so to get 78 I think is very special.
Some members of the House staunchly against same-sex couples getting hitched.
This change will have enduring ramifications for future generations. We do not know what those ramifications are, but there is concern within my community.
The Prime Minister John Key earlier indicated just 12 of his MPs would vote in favour of the bill moving to its next stage.
It gives a dignity and acceptance to a group of New Zealanders not long ago who were criminalised for the people they love.
New Zealand First, the only minor party to reject the bill at its first reading, saying it wants a referendum.
Such a major legislative change should be based on the collective will of the people, not 121 temporarily empowered members of Parliament.
The bill now heads to a select committee where the public will have a chance to make submissions and have their say on gay marriage before the bill's second reading here at Parliament. But with some MPs indicating they'll support the bill only through the first vote, there's still lots of uncertainty for the future of gay marriage. Georgina
MPs who
Ball
voted to pass the gay marriage bill through its first reading are warning they may not support it any further. The marriage equality bill will now be examined by a select committee, and MPs One News spoke to say they're pleased that's going to happen. Renee Graham has more.
Wellington bar owners Scott and Malcolm Kennedy Vaughan flew to Hawaii 10 years ago to tie the knot. With the marriage equality bill passing its first reading, they're one step closer to a second possible wedding, this time in New Zealand.
It's a hell of an expense to go all the way to Hawaii and take the family with you. So let's do it here. Let's have the equality that everybody else has got.
The Labour MP behind the bill is surprised at the way some MPs voted.
I was really surprised by Jerry Brownlee voting yes. I'm not sure why, but I guess I'd already put him in a camp that said that he wasn't going to support it. I know he's a religious man.
Here's Jerry Brownlee's reason for voting yes.
There are a number of issues that will come out of any change that might result from the bill going to a select committee that should be very widely discussed.
Several MPs who voted for the bill in its first reading, like Jerry Brownlee, will not guarantee their support in its second reading. They want to hear submissions from the public and a select committee first.
Well, I wait to hear what the arguments are, and then you can come to a confirmed vote and feel you've done the best you can.
National MP Paul Hutchinson changed his mind last night. But before he votes in favour again, Dr Hutchinson wants churches' freedoms protected.
But it's also absolutely vital that the churches have the right to say who they will marry and who they won't.
I just think that's part of a healthy democracy, so look, I look forward to the formal debate.
With 2 more readings before the bill becomes law, this Wellington couple hopes that further debate will lead to legal same-sex marriages. Renee Graham, One News.